Where's the YouTube one at? All right, all right. We are live on the YouTubes, and I see Robert's dog's face staring right at me. He's got his eyeballs right looking at me. So we are ready to go here at Area 51 for our Alien Factory podcast this week. It is 10:06, 6 minutes after the hour. Robert, I beat our 10:10 time frame this week. And we are live at it's a few minutes after the hour, guys, for our weekly Alien
10:06.
Factory. Yeah, for our weekly Alien Factory podcast. So, guys, we got a Ricky Utting with us tonight as our special guest. So that's going to be pretty cool. We have a lot of cool stuff to cover there. We'll get into that later in the podcast. So, Ricky, thanks for being with us today. And I want to go ahead and check up with everybody here. I want to go straight down the line. And I'll start with Scooter. Man, you had a good week, fast car this week. How are things going for you this week, Scotty?
Man, it has been a great week for me. I've enjoyed this week. Had some good races. Planning on racing a couple more. Got a really good setup. I took one of our setups from earlier this year and just made it better. And Robert really likes my setup. He says there's a Cadillac out there on the track. And I have to agree with them, man. When the car drives through the corner like this one does, you just can't beat it. But it's been a good week for me, Mike. I've had a blast. Just miss you out there on the track and Tracy and be nice to get everybody out there one day and run some laps.
Yeah, Scotty, I hear. I did a few races this week. I think I've done like, I don't know, 4. I haven't been slow. I've just haven't qualified and had some tough luck moving up the pack a few times and stuff. And I started 2 laps down that league race we were in, so that wasn't good. I drove from 2 laps down and like cleared last place car, clear up to 12th, I think, on the lead lap by the time it was finally over with. But that could have been a lot better. But yeah, I spent some time on the track, but not nearly as much as you guys. I've just been busy. My wife's traveling. She's over in Europe this week, or not just this week, but like for the next couple weeks after this. She went for 18 days. So it's just me and the 3 little kids. So racing's not necessarily my highest priority this week and next week and the week after that. I might be able to get like 1 race a night in at 10 o'clock or something, or maybe if I have time at work to get the nooner in, that'd be about all I'm racing for the next few weeks.
Ricky's muted.
Yeah, I know. He's not talking right now. Unless he's trying to talk. Ricky, you trying to talk?
I'm trying to talk.
There you go.
I thought I seen his lips moving. That's why I was like, I think he's talking to us.
I was just thinking to myself, that means Mike's not going to run Bristol next week, or maybe.
Yeah. I guess it's lucky for everybody else in the track. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Mike only runs Bristol for safety rating anyways.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a good place to pick up safety rating.
I might have to get my nephew out there to help me race.
Well, Ricky's probably glad I'm not running Bristol this week. Last week, Ricky had the famous Mike, what were you thinking? Talk with me. Whatever that was, like 6 months ago or something like that. I can't remember.
Bristol was where I officially met Mike Howerton.
Yeah. Instead of just being a dude on the track that was irritating people, he actually was like, "Hey, what's going through your head? Like, what are you thinking?" And we talked for a while, and it was good.
There was only 10 of us on the track, but I kept encountering Mike lap after lap after lap.
You didn't meet him with us when I was with you guys on the fairgrounds when everybody was after Mikey.
Oh, that was a whole different story, Robert.
Oh, okay.
But no, and it was funny too because Ricky actually want to know what I was thinking. Man, it's a scary place to go. Is trying my thoughts inside my head. Most people avoid that at all costs. But yeah, so I got Trace the Admiral, Tracy Rumschlag is here tonight. Trace,
Hey.
What's up with you, man?
Hey, drop your beer, grab your gear. The Admiral's here for another exciting week. Looking forward to it. Not too much last week. We didn't, I missed the show because we're back at school and my hours are late. I go from 1:30 to 9:30 at night. So it's kind of tough to make the show. But I went back and watched it. You guys did a great job. Of course, it was an exciting finish. Totally cool. And it's nice you get all them guys that come in for the interviews. And we thank all of them for coming in. It just adds to the show. Plus, it gives them exposure so we can talk to them. People get to find out who they are, other than just being a name in the middle of a race. So that part of it's been good. So I miss doing that. But just busy right now. And plus being week 13, we didn't get to do too much. Bobby Harmon came back, Nurse Bobby. So he and I have been hanging out. We were hanging out last night. We went to like 6 a.m, practice in Bristol and just little stuff, stuff that we talk about on the show. Like he and I were on the same set, so we didn't have anything different there. We weren't really building a set, but we were trying to learn how to drive Bristol and save tire and still be fairly fast. So we were doing some telemetry stuff there and just had a good time. So it was nice to see him again. And once we get through week 13, we'll see what happens. Get back out on the dirt, see what we can do on the asphalt. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Just hanging out with you, cutting videos.
Yeah, and I just uploaded and released part 1 of our 2022 official Area 51 buyer's guide for your sim racing equipment. It was part 1 is entry level equipment, and I just uploaded that today and released that. We recorded that last week, so it was our first video back, Trace. So I enjoyed doing the recordings with you again. We were on a roll before the summer, and then when summer came out, everything came to a screeching halt.
Yeah, hey, we got to share that story from last night to how we can go from nothing to having a brand new VR headset in 1 hour. You need to share that story.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you about that. You had a lot happening this week, and I was going to say I do agree. I miss having you on the Strength of Field broadcast with us because me and you, like, some people know this about me now, but like I've did professional wrestling for years and years, but part of that there towards the end of my career, I wasn't in the rings as much as sometimes I was a commentator, on TV and stuff with the wrestling. And so I'd done commentary and stuff and play by play, different things and color commentary. So like I was kind of used to it whenever I started doing the iRacing, the Strength of Field broadcasts. I developed some go-to phrases that I used over and over again each week and different stuff. And it was nice having you in there. If I needed to go take care of something with the kids or whatever, I just mute my mic and could walk away and knew you were carrying the whole thing, So because you used to, that's the thing. So you used to do like radio, right? And tell people about that. So you have a background in this kind of stuff too. So that's why it's so easy for me and you to bounce off each other.
Yeah, radio and TV. So I got lucky when I got out of high school. I worked at a place called Ace Mitchell Bowlers Mart, and they used to cut their own radio commercials. So at the beginning of the week, I'd get to go over to the radio station and we would cut 3 commercials. So it would be Monday, starting Monday morning, I'd go over there and I'd have to talk like it was doing a Monday commercial, a Tuesday commercial, Wednesday commercial and stuff like we had bowled and everything. So everything was all ad lib, like we'd done all these great things. And in reality, we hadn't even done it yet. So, but you just start, with the chemistry and playing off of each other. And that's what makes it flow. And then we used to do the same thing for Thursday, Friday, getting into what we were doing for the weekend and that kind of stuff. And, that's what makes it fun with that Monday night Strength of Field. We get to talk to a lot of nice people, which Ricky's going to be a part of our show tonight. We look forward to speaking with him, and thanks for being on the show. But what we like to do is we take the characters, the guys that are the racers, and we like to build them up, because there's a storyline every week. And it depends if we were at the Oval set, where let's use Boyd Hogan and his team. Those guys were dominant, you know what I mean? But they were great guys to talk to. They shared their experience. I mean, they even told us everything they did when they ran, what was it, Daytona that one time, the whole script that they went through. Now, who knows that? That's behind the scenes stuff. And that's stuff you only find on the podcast if you watch, because nobody's talking about that stuff on the forums. But once he spelled it out for us, it was like, holy cow, and it just takes that storyline and gives it some character. And like I say, you got the face that runs the place, and you get to meet these guys, and all of a sudden you come back. Now you got your favorite drivers from every week. You know who the movers and the shakers are. And then during my broadcast experience, I got to do at the University of Akron. They did some bowling shows, and I got to cover that as a color commentator as well. And also with the sponsor, I got to represent the sponsor, which in our case was where I worked. So I got to do all that. That was so much fun there. We did basically the same thing where we did our own little tutorials, but back before there was YouTube and all that. So that's what I like doing is getting behind here, meeting the people, understanding where they're coming from, their background, that kind of stuff. Just builds the story, and then you have a better understanding. It's just a better experience, I feel. So
Yeah,
Tracy, did Mike share with you my comments about your SOF broadcast?
I'm gonna say no, Ricky. No, he didn't. Or if
I
he
thought
did,
I
I missed
did, but
it.
he just can't remember. It's old age, Ricky. Why don't you go ahead
Yeah,
and
yeah, I
why
need
don't you go ahead and
Post-it
share him
notes.
with him again?
Let me tell you and your viewers. I watched your SOF broadcast at Darlington a couple weeks ago. You
Yeah.
guys do a great job. It was super entertaining because you do have backstories. You understand what's going on. You do things like to crank it up. You got great views, and I was thoroughly impressed. So kudos to you guys that you like doing that because I mean I know you sacrificed to do it, but it was super entertaining. That's going to catch on. I'll tell you right now.
And that's what we're hoping for, because we go back a little bit. If you go back to 2017, which I don't think you go quite back far, Ricky, but Gen X used to do it, and Brett Wall, and he used to race the strength of field race, and he had his own little community and that kind of stuff. And he really sacrificed to do that. And that's where I got introduced into the Monday night strength of field race. And then when Mike said, "Hey, let's do that," and it was like, yeah, let's do that, because it was great, but there's so much work that goes into it that's behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize. It takes a cast of characters, which obviously we have, that can to produce that kind of content, and we're thankful for that, and we're thankful for our viewers as well, and the input, like what you just said there. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. We don't really get to hear that kind of thing, but that's what keeps us going.
And I don't see the wreck the same way they do.
You never do, Robert. You need to put your
Well,
good glasses
I
on.
gotta tell you, I went to high school and I'm friends with Jeff Striegel, who's part of the MRN group with Dave Booty, and they cover the NASCAR races. So I listen to those guys. Like I know what a professional broadcast sounds like. And the way like Scotty's covering the backstretch, you guys are handing off from one to the other. I'm just like, holy cow, these guys are like amazingly good. And I didn't know your backstory. I didn't know how long you've been doing it. I don't know how many hours you spend behind the scenes, but it looked really good, guys. So kudos.
Appreciate it.
A lot of that's been in development too. Oh, go ahead, Scotty.
I was just saying thank you to Ricky.
Yeah, I gave all this feedback to Mike, and then the next thing I know, he's like, "Can you do our Sunday show?" So I guess I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I've been trying to get you on.
I buttered
for a
him up,
while.
I guess.
We've been chit chatting about it for a couple months now about getting you on, all the cool stuff you're doing, which we'll get into in a little bit. But
Hey, Mike, but before we continue, we still got that little business.
I'm getting ready to transition to
all
that.
right,
But
all
I just want to say that, Ricky, it wasn't that smooth when we first started broadcasting the strength of field races. We've been doing it since like beginning of March-ish, and the first couple were a bit rough. But we really have it kind of down. I get like a monitor going on Discord so the guys can see what I'm streaming live. Plus, they have iRacing up on their computers, so they can do what you said, looking at the backstretch and like seeing things I'm not seeing. But yeah, it took us probably, Tracy, about 3 or 4 months to really get it kind of down pat and get it a kind of a smooth process.
Yeah, and also it took a lot of feedback from a lot of people that helped us. First I had to learn, and I'm sure we all did, we had to learn the drivers, because I really am not from that community, the B community. But once I got, I know the guys, know of them, but I come from, when I first started, we did with the pros, right? And we're going to have next week, and I'm a little ahead of myself, but I'll just announce it now. We have Garrett Mashburn coming over, and he and I were on the same team, and we did the pro stuff, not coverage, but just as a pro team. But I knew those guys. So now some of the guys that are behind the scene were the old pro guys, right? So now we got the new pro guys. So now I'm learning all of them. And like I said, we threw out Boyd Hogan and everybody that's involved. I mean, there's some very talented people. And once we understood the guys and what team they are and who's out there now, then it just became very simple. The pieces of the puzzle started falling in. And then just the storyline, we had guys that were just destroying them on the road courses. And then you had the guys that were destroying them on the ovals, which made it great. Every time you turned in, we had a good race, and that's what really made it good. And then as we learned that, then we just started getting Ricky Thompson, stintanalyzer.com hard charger award, different things like that. The Area 51 Alien Factory halfway challenge, stuff like that, just to make the broadcast more interesting. And that's the stuff I like. I want people to gravitate towards that. I want them to be involved in what we're watching, like we are.
Hey, Trace, I got a new award for us. We need the Docs NASCAR models award for the car that hasn't been touched without a scratch.
Well,
at
how
end of
about the
race.
best paint? Maybe,
Well, it could be the best paint, but they can't be touched either. You can't have a beat up race car. It's got to be a perfectly clean race car. No
I'm not
scratches
sure.
on it at all.
I'm not sure Doc can afford your price, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, really. Our price of free. Shoot. Anyway, so one last thing we'll get into. In fact, you know what, Trace? Let's put on hold. I want to see what Robert's been patiently waiting there. We'll get back to the story.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, that's good.
Because Robert's been patiently waiting. We got Robert Cook,
Number one
the
team
man, the
driver.
myth, the legend.
Number one team
He's
driver.
got the face of his dog right there for everybody to see, and he's also the number one team driver. Robert, how's your week been? How you doing?
Not bad after running Scotty's set. I tell you, like I said, it ran like a Cadillac. When you get in that thing, Mikey, you got to think, Scotty, how would Scotty take this corner? And then you'll be fine.
Hey, if it ran like a Cadillac, you're probably in the wrong class.
Yeah, well, it ran good. It ran good. Any line you
Tracy
want
likes to run the Cadillacs.
Yeah.
Hey,
I run a
Robert was
Cadillac.
really quick with it this week. Robert did really well.
Yeah, I didn't lose any points. I think I lost 50 one day, and I had to come in and race at 5 o'clock, which you never see me on a 5 o'clock. And then I got 24 of those things back. And the next day I got all my points I lost the day before. So I broke even, but a little bit more, not much.
And 4th place in a league race.
Yeah, 4th place in the league race. Yep.
So anything else going on, Robert?
Well, I came on because Ricky U was going to be here, and I told him earlier I had to step away from watching the GOAT to come in here and watch and listen to him today.
So now I know Robert's a Tampa Bay or Tom Brady fan, one of the two. And maybe Robert's going to announce tonight a new paint job.
Nope.
No.
Hey, Ricky, you wouldn't believe what I had to do to convince him to let me touch the one he has right now. He gave me very specific places on the car that I could touch, and that was it.
Yes, I know.
Nothing else.
I know.
Well, I had somebody, I forget, I think somebody, I forget, came on one day, and he was gone for several years, and he passed me, and he goes, I see things haven't changed much. Same painting the same, driving the same old car that I was driving.
Someone should just create Robert like a reverse paint scheme, just invert the colors. He can run it once a year on like some special holiday or something.
Someone painted that for me or suggested it. I had the yellow and blue car, the Wrangler. And then I was on TeamSpeak and somebody gave me this one. They gave me the black and yellow, and they gave me a white and silver. And I like the black and yellow a lot better than the silver and white one. So that's what I took. And I've been racing that for like 10 years. It
That's
feels
Robert.
like.
Robert Cook.
I will say it's nice, the consistency when you look in your rear view mirror and you see Robert behind you. That's a good feeling. Like
you're safe. I'm not gonna hit you.
That's right.
I always get yelled at whenever I see Robert.
Ricky.
I don't want to
always
see.
yelling at me. Get out of the way, Scotty.
I don't want to
you
see
don't
him
want to
ahead
see
of me.
Scotty behind you. That's scary.
Well, I certainly don't want to see him ahead of me. So
if I'm behind you, I'm not going to run into you most of the time.
Well, I'd rather see you guys in my mirror disappearing.
Yeah, we like to see that way with you too, Scotty.
So I think the next subject that we're going to talk about is probably going to lead into maybe one of Ricky's stories at some point too. But we and Tracy we were doing our buyer's guide video for sim racing equipment, and Tracy made a comment during the video about I was talking about how my philosophy was like, your current equipment holds value and you can always sell it and buy new equipment. And, I was always wheeling and dealing, and upgrading along the way here and there, and basically be able to upgrade for free because I would sell what I got and get the new stuff used for like just as much or less than what I got out of my current stuff, blah, blah, blah. And Tracy was like, or you could use his philosophy. You get your money together and buy what you really want, and something as nice as you can afford, and then you just enjoy it and like it, love it, live with it, enjoy it, And so with that being said, Trace, my goodness, you already had one big upgrade here in the last few months. You got that nice big 49-inch Samsung Odyssey monitor that you've been staring at now. It's so bright that it messes up your Rift S VR headset you found out the other day.
Yeah. Yeah. Last night when I was playing on it, it would not center up. It was just crazy. So
That's the
but-
first time I've heard you breaking out that headset since you got that monitor. I think. I mean, my goodness, you've been basking in the light and the glory of that big, huge Odyssey 59 or 49-inch super ultra widescreen monitor you got.
it is so nice. And if you have the means, I highly suggest you indulge yourself.
Yeah, if he's got an extra grand laying around somewhere.
Be like John Vanderwall had 3 of
But
them.
but the only reason I bought it was because it was opportunity. I just showed up at Best Buy, and I think it was around the holidays or
Yeah, they had
whatever.
like $200 off or something
Yes,
on it.
they did.
was
And
like
that kind of
$1,200
segues
monitor,
into
you got
our
for
next
$1,000
part too.
And we've been talking about that because you're talking about possibly like getting new triples or like, we've been, you've kind of talking about, and I was getting ready to throw you some recommendations, and all of a sudden you get on Discord, you're like, I bought this Samsung Odyssey G9, Mike.
Yeah.
Is that a good one? And
Is
I'm
it
like,
okay?
it's the best one you can buy. Like,
And I didn't know either, so that was
Yeah.
what made it kind of
So-
crazy.
So along that thought, man, how long has it been since I've been talking to you about upgrading your VR setup? A year or so?
At least a year, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
like, dude, you're running like ancient VR. You need to upgrade that thing because a lot of your complaints were with VR was just the older headset you had. You had the screen door effect. It wasn't as clear. And I
Right.
know I worked with you and we changed that. We started doing the something called super sampling where it started rendering at a higher resolution. That helped you out some and got your gauges clear. And we've talked about that before. But we've been on you. And I don't know who it was, either me or Bobby. Maybe it's me. Me and Bobby were talking about our VR headsets, and all of a sudden I was on some website. I saw this big thing advertisement flash up where HP was having their Labor Day sale, and yesterday was the last day of it, and we were literally down to like the midnight hour on that thing, and it was like, and they had, first of all, they reduced the MSRP down to $599 from $649 when it started. So they reduced the MSRP by $50, and then they had a $200 off sale on that thing. And it was only good for like another hour and 58 minutes or something when we saw it, and the pressure was on. Chase is like, I don't know if I want to drop that kind of money. I don't. And then finally, I closed the deal and said, hey, I think I had to send mine in for a warranty return. They gave me some gift cards to make up for it that I've been trying to spend and can't spend. And I said, here, I'll just throw you. I got a little bit of gift cards that might help you a little bit out a little bit too. And I threw them your way and gave them to you. We popped that in. You were like, I can't pass the deal up. And Trace is like, let me think about it for a couple of minutes. And he thought about it. And man, you were breaking out that card and punching in some numbers, weren't you?
Yeah, it was definitely a 11th hour deal for sure. I mean, when I sat down last night, that wasn't the first thing on my mind was to do this, but I understand how opportunity works, and usually it only comes around once in a blue moon. And with everything that was going on, it was like I would just be dumb to not do this. And like you said, even if you don't want it, you can always turn around and sell it. Bobby was telling me that even after you left last night. He's going, "Oh yeah, man, you're gonna love it." He goes, "Oh, this is the greatest thing in the world," And what it's a HP
Reverb G2.
Yeah, okay, but he told me that you had one, and I know
Well, Bobby has one. I have
Rachel
one.
has one,
Yep,
right?
Rachel has one.
Yeah, and he's telling me, oh, if you like it on the screen, you're absolutely gonna love it. He says, but if you don't, you can always sell it for what you got in it, And it's like he goes, but you're not gonna sell it. So he was on me the whole night, And so yeah, I'm excited. It's cool. I enjoy the VR experience, and if it gets rid of the screen door and all the other oddities that this particular system has, just from being dated, it's nothing bad. I mean, it's just dated. Yeah, I'm gonna be loving it, that's for sure. And I hope to spend more time in the car, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the G2 has the resolution's like 4K resolution. The screen door's gone. It looks just about. I mean, it looks pretty much as clear as like a 1080p monitor, like a 32-inch 1080p monitor, which in iRacing looks really clear, And so like I love it. It's all the benefits of VR with none of the hangups or none of the downside that they used to have with VR headsets.
Right,
it's
and you
great.
figure for the amount of money I put into it, I think with tax and everything, it was just under 2.5. I mean, how am I going to go wrong, right?
Yeah, brand new with the warranty.
Brand new. So it was like, yeah, I'm going to be part of the club.
Yeah,
I
why
do.
not?
I do have a tip for you guys in case public service announcement. If you need to spend a little bit of money on some equipment, let your spouse know that you're thinking of buying a real race car, and they'll be happy that you buy a 49-inch ultra wide or a VR if you just say, I'll drop the real car thing.
There you go. Well, Tracy's the only person I know that walks into Best Buy just to chill out and walk around and look at things one day and walk out with $1,000 monitor. He was happy that he got a good deal.
I felt so much better. It was therapeutic to do that.
Well, guys, let's see. Let's move into the first segment. Whenever we had the setup shop owners, it was the face that ran the place, but I'm renaming it as the face behind the wheel. That way, everybody or the face behind the screen, everybody knows can start to get to know the drivers and stuff. And we've been pulling a lot of guys that race in the strength of field races, and I know the guys have been so dominant in these strength of field races lately. And these strength of field races, Ricky and I were talking about this the other day over in their Discord, just having a conversation about like how high the competition level and bar has gotten lately. Like we were talking about last year, I think I finished 10th place Division I overall last year as I raced most of the strength of field races last year. And Ricky, I think you said you finished like right behind me or something.
7.
And this year, man, I don't know that we'd be even in the top
Right
25
ahead of him.
board. That's even if I was running all of them. I haven't ran any of them yet this year. So because I've been broadcasting them, but if I was running them, I still don't know, man. It'd be tough to even be on the top 25 this year.
I asked you because it was a legitimate question. I'm amazed at the competition this year, and you gave me a couple answers, and I actually think you're onto something. I think you have two explainable ideas why the competition in the B Open is so far up this year. Because statistically, I'm scoring more points per race than I was last
Well, your
year.
I rating's higher. You're getting more championship points per race.
Yep.
I mean, it's just like
Yep. I'm statistically happy. I'm doing better, but I can tell you,
I think you're faster. I think your car's faster too.
Yeah, it's faster, but I am instead of 7th in the points, I'm 14th right now. So it's been a head scratcher, but I think you, Mike, you can tell people what you think the reasons are, but I think you're right on a couple of them.
Well, I think I gave you 3 of them. One is just for one, there's more people in iRacing, so the general competition is getting. The more people we have on the service, the more better drivers you're going to find as well. If
COVID babies, COVID babies.
Well,
all the people that were out on COVID.
Kind of just in general, if 5% of the population gets to our level of iRacers, then you get more iRacers, going to be more competition. So that was my first thought, was that just more people gives more competition. And then I started getting into more specifics. There was 2 other ones. And one of them was, is that, it's more drivers, more competition. And the other idea that I had is that back whenever I first started in with setup shops, they would get their method of promotion. Of course, they go in Discords and spam and promote their stuff in Discord servers, and they would do it in Facebook page. They join all the iRacing Facebook groups and spam all their stuff, and they still do that. But their best way to promote their sets was to go and get a bunch of team drivers, and it didn't have to be the best driver. I wasn't the best driver back then. When I got picked up, I only had a 3,000 I rating, but I ran their paint. I did decent in every race. I would just spam the chat or whatever, not a bunch, but a couple of times, and that was their way they promote. And people, and then legit, Ricky, I had people, I remember Mike Cook was one of them. I mean, God bless Mike Cook. But when I was running with the setup shop, he'd be like, Mikey, where's your sets at? And he'd go buy them, and he'd give me my promo code. And then when I switched teams one time, he switched where he bought them from, and that's how they did it. But then iRacing started cracking down on the spamming, and I got protested and lost for putting up too many times my, the link to my setup shop. And they really cracked down on all that. They cracked down on the forums. They cracked down on the races. And you don't hardly ever see guys posting anymore the links and stuff to the setup shops. If they do, it's maybe if they win the race one time at the end, maybe. But they'll still get protested for that possibly. And iRacing got pretty serious about it. They were threatening to like ban people's chat for doing that stuff. So just some of the inside baseball knowledge that I got from some of the people I know in setup shops, and me being used to be on the inside of some of it. What they decided to do was, I think they're promoting their sets now, instead of having a bunch of team drivers going and spamming all the time and running their cars, they are they're getting their builders are actually racing. If you look at a lot of the guys in the strength of field, they are literally the guys building the setups for the setup shop and some of their top drivers. And then a lot of the setup shops, especially Ryko, I know for sure, like they're big, like they are actually intentionally trying to dominate the leaderboard for the strength of field, or not the strength of field, but for the championship points. They're trying to dominate the championship points series for the B Open, and all of them, not just B Open, but A Open and like everything else.
Is that why they got Brandon on there?
Well, no, seriously. I mean, that's Cody. That's like that. They're actively trying to win. Like with Cody Trelendi, he's been the championship points leader all season, and there's like 2 or 3 other ones. Yeah, and they just recruited Brandon Schmidt. He joined him. So Brandon was Cody's biggest competition and number 2 on the championship point board if you look for a B Open, and they went and recruited him. So now their competition became another person on their team that's at the top of the board, and they're using that then, and it's not a bad thing. They're saying, hey, we're being successful. You know, people are running our set. So I think that's a lot of it too. And then now we're getting into the contender series coming up. So all the pro teams are going to be in there too. I mean, it's getting to the point where if you don't have a 4,000 I rating, you're not getting in the SOF race. And to be honest, I've seen a couple of them where the lowest I rating was like 42 or 4,300. Like I'm not getting in, you know.
Well, last week it was
4,500
was the lowest one, wasn't it? 45 was the
and
lowest one.
And Ricky, I can't remember if I answered anything else besides those points. I can't remember, but those were kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense because I am seeing some incredible talent in the races. The SOF Monday night race is crazy, but just look at the point standings and look at how solid people are. It's what I said, and I don't think I'm right, but I just said, is it because some people from the old A car didn't like the next gen car and they abandoned the A series and came down to the B series? I don't think that's the case, but I had to come up with where are all these talented drivers coming from.
I
there's
think
a
that
little
could
bit of
be
that.
possible. A little bit of that could be possible.
Well, and I can
Drivers
think of
coming down.
at least one guy. I know Boyd Hogan drove a lot of the A cars and the SOF races last year. You know, he was big into those, and the truck some too. But I don't. And he's never actively. I'm not saying Boyd told me this because he didn't. But because we talked to him, he never once mentioned this. But I'm just saying, I noticed that last year he was driving some of those, and then this year now he's driving in the B Open. So I don't know. It may have to do with that some, but I don't think that's the major factor. I think it's the setup shops trying to win this with their builders and best drivers, and then just the general competition level, you know, increasing.
Yeah, I think that made sense to me. I will say this though, they are a riot to drive because don't quote me on this, but I think I'll just say 5 of the last 7 have gone caution free. And so the level of talent to be able to do that and the respect, that those are fun races. I mean, you better be ready to go. You better be ready to go. That's all I'm going to say. But you know, that's you don't see that throughout the rest of the week.
Well, I just heard Brandon calls you the sexiest driver in iRacing.
You know, one of the things about coming on tonight, I was going to ask you, I don't have to be as funny as Brandon, right?
Right.
Is that right? Okay.
No, Brandon's a trip. I'll tell you that. Brandon was invited. He could have been on here as a guest. In fact, Brandon, if I don't know, maybe I can send you a link if you want to pop in here. But anyway,
he knows too much about me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to be fair to
why
Ricky, we haven't even asked him a single question yet. You know,
let's go to that, Trace. I want to turn everything over to you right now, and we'll do the face behind the wheel. And I think, Ricky, you're a great guy to have in here because you're in the strength of field races. Now, you may not be finishing the top, but we see every week, we see that Pepsi car on the track and the SOF races on the broadcast. And here's the deal. You can be the 20-something car in the SOF race and finish, you know, low 20s, high teens or whatever. But in a normal race, when people race with you during the week, you're always towards the front. Usually you're a top 5 racer during the day and anytime people are on there normally. And so they really get a lot of the guys that watch the podcast, see you on the track, they see you in the strength of field broadcast, and then they race with you and see you have a lot of success. And so Those are so that's the type of drivers that we're trying to get in, is people that so that way the guys in iRacing that watch the podcast that we race with every day, you'd be surprised, Ricky, if I'm in a race and somebody will notice me and say, "Hey Mike, how's it going?" Watching your videos, and I never met the person. I'm just like, "Hey man, thanks for watching. Let's race together." It's pretty cool. I've met a lot of, like, that's me saying I've met a lot of cool people doing this that I probably wouldn't have ever met before, because we'd be in a race, they wouldn't know who I was and I wouldn't know who they were, and we just go about our business. But because we're doing this stuff, like, we get to talk and I meet people. And we were at Darlington and I beat some guy earlier in the week, like really early in the week, and he was burning his tires up, he was doing some stuff, and I kind of got onto him in a nice way, trying to help him. And at the end of the race, he's like, "Man, I'm not mad at you. I'm just trying to help you." And like, I started explaining it to him. I said, "Hey, I did some videos on this," and I give him a link to it. The dude goes and subscribes to the channel, watches the videos. 3 days later, he beats me. Like, straight up. And I'm like, man, I gotta stop sending people to these videos, because he straight up beat me. But anyway, so that's what we're having. I think it's really cool that people see that Pepsi car on the track, and now they're going to get to see you. Got a video there, see you in person, and not only see you, but they're going to get to hear your story. And this is where Tracy has his.
What did Ricky wanted to say just then?
Well, I'm not wearing my Pepsi uniform, but I was just going to say, I'm blessed to be able to run during the week, and you start to run up against the same guys again. Yep. So now we have friends from Australia or all over, right? I mean, that's cool. But what you said, it goes back to your broadcast, when you know who the point leaders are. So that's a storyline, right? Who's competing against who. But you also know that if the 20 car is running 10th, that they're overperforming.
Yeah.
And so you're able to on that given day, you're able to sort of highlight that driver for doing that. And so for me personally, I don't go into the SOF race with, ambitions greater than what I think the car can do that day. But then there's the rest of the week, right? So, I mean, you just keep working on it.
And that's where guys get in troubles, when they go in with ambitions higher than what their car can do.
Well, I don't go in there like that. If I see a 20 car and he's beating me and I'm like 10, I said, well, that's his alt account.
Yeah, Robert, you're so good. You need to start protecting that I rating as number one.
Yeah. I want one account only, boys.
All right, so guys, I'm turning this thing over to Tracy. This is specially. He gets in, interviews guys, finds out all kind of cool stuff for our viewers. So Trace, the Admiral, we're turning it over to you.
All right. Well, I'm glad. I mean, we're almost halfway through the show. We've yet to introduce Ricky Utting. That's all I know. And I'm gonna tell you what, there's a lot of excitement. The chat is blowing up. It is on fire right now. And there's a lot of excitement around Ricky Utting being here tonight. And we are thankful you are here. So Ricky, what we want to know on this part is, we want to know about you. Okay. We want to know how you got to this point of your life. How you got into racing, iRacing, your history. You don't have to take us back to your childhood if you don't want to, but you've got some fantastic things that I really want to know about. Your model building, for one, that's something I really enjoy. That got me into RC racing and different stuff. So I'm curious. I'm definitely going to follow your page. I'm fascinated with that part of it. And I'm just, I've never met you, but these guys have a lot of hype. And they've told me a lot about you. Your name is every week. Every time we're running covering the strength of field race, your name always comes up. Robert is always talking about you. And I'm just excited that you're here. I want to find out your backstory, your racing background, your modeling background, your iRacing, your team, the whole shooting match. So what is it that you want people to know about you, right now? That's what I want. This is where I turn it over to you. And you fill in all the blanks for us, and let us know how you got to this point of your life. And have at it, man. This is about you now.
This is where I'll sound like Chunk from the Goonies. And then in the third grade, I leaned over the balcony. I tell you what, guys. I get excited to talk about my roots because it comes from my dad. How many times have you heard the story? But my dad used to race. My dad brought my two brothers and I to racetracks when we were 2 years old. So we grew up with NASCAR. I mean, I've been going to NASCAR races for a long time. I'm not as old as Robert, but I've been going for a long time. And
there's not very many people as old as Robert. So
exactly. So I mean, racing's in my blood. I watched the races, I studied the races, and when I was about 8 years old, I started building NASCAR models. And like a young kid would do, I'd build them and then I'd try and blow them up with firecrackers and put them back together. And I just got to the point where I liked them and I started collecting them. Before I knew it, I had 10, and then I had 20, and then you go through your teen years where not so much. But when I got out of college, my dad and I talked about buying a sportsman car for me, and we went down to Daytona and Talladega and hit all the tracks. And driving a real race car was a conversation. It didn't happen, but the models were always there. So today, I continue to buy them and build them. Like I just never stopped. And so my background in racing is pretty deep. So here's something you guys will think is kind of fun. So I got two brothers, and my oldest brother's son was a crew chief this year. He built a car, and you've heard of Johnny Benson, right?
Oh, absolutely. I've met Johnny. Matter of fact, I seen him this year. He was at a race at Sandusky.
Yeah, exactly. So I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Our local track is Berlin Speedway.
Now that's
Johnny-
Johnny's track, right? Don't
Yeah.
they own that? Okay. How
Well,
far
John-
is that from you?
20 minutes.
Really?
So
I
I
heard
worked.
that's a beautiful facility.
Berlin's a fantastic facility. I worked with Johnny's wife, and so we grew up, Johnny Benson fans. Well, this year Johnny Benson drove my nephew's car at Berlin Speedway, and so if my dad was alive to see that, he would have just been over the moon excited, right? Well, my other brother, my dad bought a Legends team, and they got him into racing Legends when he was 8 years old. So he was racing against Carson Hocevar in quarter midgets, and guess whose equipment we bought? We bought Eric Jones's equipment. So
Wow.
my dad and my brother bought Eric's quarter midget, and Eric's sister too. They raced together, and lock, stock, and barrel, workbench, spare parts, everything. And so that nephew went from go-karts to quarter midgets up to the Legends car. And so each branch of my dad's tree had this racing background, except I didn't get in a real car. But now I'm doing iRacing, and it's really filling that void. If my dad was around, he would watch these things. He would watch your SOF thing. He would think they're the coolest thing. And so anyway, that's inside. I mean, that's in our blood. So from a background standpoint, I don't come at iRacing like it's a game. I come at iRacing like it's been part of my life, my whole life, So that's, what occupies my time during the week is, I do a little bit of work, I do a fair amount of iRacing, and then I do some model building. So it's great.
Now that's interesting that you're with Johnny Benson, because Grand Rapids is a big hub in terms of racing up there, especially short track racing. Now you said Johnny drove, I think you said your brother's car. Now is that a super late model that he was in? Because I know he's running super modifieds there when he came to Sandusky.
So it's a limited late model. So it's the template body.
Okay.
And it's, so my nephew helped build the car and crew chief it for them. Johnny's been running the ISMA,
Super mods. Yep,
at
that's what we
Sandusky
saw.
and Oswego and stuff. And
Yes.
and that's about all the driving he does anymore. But just thinking back to, so like Johnny and I were going to drive a Pro-Am together in 1993. And the sponsorship said, we want to do it in 1994. And I said, you don't understand. Johnny's not going to be here in 94. He's going south to drive the Busch Series. And so it didn't come together, but Johnny was ASA champion, 93, Busch Rookie of the Year champion, Cup Rookie of the Year, right? I mean, his career was absolutely in the peak.
I met him in Columbus. He came to a race down there. I have a picture of him, but I remember that before he went off. Yep.
Yeah. But at Berlin Speedway, I mean, Butch Miller lived just miles from the track. Bob Seneker, Johnny Benson. I mean, seeing Mark Martin and Rusty Wallace and all those guys come through ASA at Berlin. I mean, that's what we grew up with. That's our local track. So my dad raced at Berlin, and he retired long before those days, but we were there and growing up. So that's my background. That's why I got into racing.
Do you still go today?
Yeah, we do. So my brothers, because of their son's involvement, they were there, not every week. The nice thing about the schedule now, I mean, Berlin's doing a really good job, is not every series runs every week. They do get some off weeks, and that's kind of nice. But yeah, we were all at Berlin again this year, witnessing that. And I think we said, we looked at the family, said somebody from the Utting family has been at Berlin Speedway now for 70 some years or something like that.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool.
That's a great story. Absolutely. Find somebody with a history like that in racing.
Yeah.
Good for your family. Excellent.
Yeah. So anyway, that's I guess just thinking out loud. When I was doing, the Papyrus NASCAR racing stuff, right? I mean, 1999 or 2003. I mean, I had a wheel and I was driving, and video games were cool and everything, but it wasn't until, like, I knew that iRacing existed, but until I got that subscription 3 years ago, I had no idea,
Did you think iRacing was like overpriced at the time, like when they first came out? Because I know I had sticker shock when it first came out. I was like, I'm not paying for all that, because I was in the middle of the Papyrus stage too. Now, I don't know if on Papyrus, did you ever race online on Papyrus at all?
So my good friend would unplug his computer, bring it over to my house, set it up on a card table, and we would network together and race each other. So unlike Dale Jr., I wasn't racking up a phone bill or doing online stuff, but we were connected. When I joined a company where we had about 4 other like-minded people, we used the corporate network to race at lunch. We had 5 of us racing at lunchtime, driving.
Hey, Robert, he made the Nooner popular before we ever started doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, when you're sitting behind the wheel and the president of the company taps you on the shoulder, it's like, oh, okay, I better pull off, But so we had some experience getting to race against other people. But for me personally, guys, I have an engineering background. I have an engineering degree. Most of my jobs have revolved around engineering. So half the fun for me is doing the setup work. I mean, driving's cool. I mean, I love the racing background, but I love the technical aspect of it too. I mean, so for me, we're racing at noon and we're doing stuff, but you want to beat the other guys, so you're changing the setup, like you're trying to get that thing dialed in. And so anyway, fast forward to today. Yeah, Tracy, I think at first I didn't understand the pricing model or what you would get for that amount of money. But I also, I mean, probably didn't have the time, raising kids and going to their sporting events and stuff. But I'm at a time in my life now where I can actually sort of concentrate and dedicate time to it.
Are you an empty nester?
My wife and I are empty nesters. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are they in college now or what?
They're actually both post-college, both married, no grandkids yet, but we stay in touch with the kids enough. And my wife's got a part-time job. And so I guess that affords me, like I said, I'm blessed, the opportunity to do some testing, some setup work, and get ready for the races.
Well,
I can tell you don't have any grandkids because all your models are still out.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You better put some glass around those things.
Good point. That was a major, putting models behind glass or just on the shelf was a big thought when I designed this room and put this room together. I got about 150 models. So, I mean, I like diecast, nothing against diecast, but when I started building models, diecast didn't exist. I mean, your only option was to buy the plastic kit. spray paint it, put the decals on it. And so when diecast started coming out, I mean, they got to be 50, 60, 70, $100 a piece. I was like, I'm going to keep going with models. You buy a model kit for $10, $15, and, you put a little craft into it. So my collection is all plastic models, 124th, 125th scale. And I'm to the point now where I have the most fun sort of researching cars of significance. Like what car did something in history that's significant enough that I want to build that exact car.
T-Rex.
Yeah, like T-Rex. So I've got everything I need to build T-Rex.
Well, then you understand the suspension they had underneath it then.
Well, you don't always get the reference photos that you need to build it anatomically correct. But I will say that nowadays, you can get all the photos you need to build. So I just finished, not too long ago, I did Richard Petty's 200th whip, right? I mean, that's a significant car in the Smithsonian. And
is that the car behind you?
On
On your other shoulder. Yep. Is that the one?
Yeah.
The Pontiac, that's a 200th?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think I had
so
that.
now,
That's why I
Ricky,
asked.
couple of things. So,
Yep.
One is I want to show everybody. I want to do a screen share real quick. Your models they look amazing. In fact, the one that's like your banner on your Facebook page. At first, I thought that was a real car at first, and then I had to look at it, and then I realized the net, like by the driver's window, was plastic. I'm like, that's a model. I mean, that's just amazing. So I want to pop that up on the screen for everybody to see. And I'm also right now going to pop down if you're watching and you want to go follow Ricky's Facebook page where he has all this pictures and stuff about his models. He's trying to hit 1,000. We took him from 990 before the podcast started. He's already at the 995. So
Yeah, all right.
We're going to go ahead and I'm going to post the link to his Facebook page in the chat right now. It's down there, and you can see that model. That's a 43 there, the STP car. He has done that one. And Ricky, tell us a little bit about the one they're looking at on their screen now. I mean, that looks phenomenal. Wow, that thing looks good. Tell us about that car and why you did it.
Yep, this was Richard's final ride, 1992 fan appreciation tour. This is this is based on the Atlanta ride prior to the fire that took him out of the race. But I mean, again, a significant car being Richard's last race of his career, right? And so there's a new model company out that I'll promote real quick, but their name is Salvino's JR Models, and they came out or re-released this particular kit with the decals that are able to build this car great. So yeah, that happens to be two Richard Petty's in a couple months apart, but man, the decals are so good and the car looks so good. I mean, had to do it. So
I like that. That's nice.
So I do like to, I like to jump around. I mean, I've got shelf for, Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson and some, again, cars of significance, but it's fun to research. And so I'll announce here on your podcast that when I do get over 1,000 followers,
that's going to be tonight, man.
Yeah, which will be tonight. The next car I'm actually going to put out
is my Wrangler.
Is
when you build it, make sure you put on it #1 team driver.
I'm gonna build Robert's car because I know how good the front end looks in my rearview mirror.
Yeah, you got that front end like ingrained in your memory. It's like etched in there. You don't even need a picture.
Well, I'm glad I'm that close to his rear end that he can see me. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Well, I will say, so I was at a race at Michigan Speedway growing up, and it was Richard Petty's 1,000th start. And again, looking back in history right now, that was a significant race. Richard had specific decals that day for that race. So I'm actually going to build Richard's 1,000th start from 1986, which was the Pontiac 2+2, which was a model kit that was really never released until last year. So That'll be my next kit.
Well,
Absolutely. Well, so before we move on past models, I'll turn things back over to Tracy. But there's one thing that you told me the other day in a conversation we were having that I don't know if you told Tracy about, so you don't even know to ask you about it. But what was a story you told me? I can't remember all the details, but somebody wanted to buy one of your models off of you for a NASCAR driver whose car you made, and you were like, nope, not for sale. So why don't you? That's the only thing I remember about it. So why don't you fill the blanks? Tell the story. I'm sure that would be really cool. People would like to hear that because I like.
Well, it's flattering. It's happened a couple times, but the one that happened last week was I had built Johnny Benson's white Pontiac from 2000, the Daytona 500. I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but he had just bought himself out
Hey, I
of the
think
Roush.
Tracy's got one right up there.
How
in his
about that,
camera.
Ricky?
Trace, speak.
Look
Yeah,
at that.
See
Look at
if
that.
this
Is
will
that
work.
it?
I see it. I see
Uh-huh.
it. The Beveling car. That's
Nice.
awesome.
Nice.
yeah, car number 10. Yeah.
So the story of that car, Johnny bought himself out of the contract with Roush in '99, and he goes to the 10 car, which is unsponsored. It's a plain white car. They show up in Daytona. They do have Hendrick Motors, Tyler Jet Motorsports. Well, he's leading the Daytona 500 with 7 laps to go, and the caution comes out. Otherwise, he wins. Okay.
That was a competition yellow, wasn't it? Something stupid. He got screwed in that deal. I remember it.
It was Michael Waltrip on the front stretch, and the bad part was he was being followed by 4 Fords, Dale Jarrett, Mark Martin, Jeff Burton, and so on the restart they just ganged up on him. They got by. Well, I built the white car that ran at the Daytona race that day, and that's on my page. Well, a guy contacted me last week. He says, "Can I buy that for my boss? That used to be his car." And I immediately responded and I said, "Tim Beverly?" He said, "Yeah, that's my boss." I'm like, "Oh, so Tim Beverly was the owner of Tyler Jet Motorsports who put that team together, and they're down in Tyler, Texas." He says, "I'd love to build it for his desk." And I said, "Well," I said, "Not yet, but when I'm gone, contact my wife. She'll sell it to you."
Okay. Who was the crew chief? Do you remember the crew chief on that car?
James Ince.
Okay.
Yeah, because there were not pictures. This is a great story. I used to belong to the Johnny Benson fan page. There were not pictures of the rear TV panel. I didn't know how to decal it up because the day of the race, they signed Lycos.com as a sponsor. James Ince replied to me and he said, "This is what the back end looks like. I put the stickers on myself." So on the rear TV panel, it's a black Lycos.com decal. And so anyway, that's the level of detail that's fun, to put into these models. That car, I mean, it's not like it was a kit you'd ever buy at, Walmart or Hobby Lobby or anything like that. I mean, you got to buy a Pontiac Grand Prix, you got to find the decals, and then you got to do the research on, what it looked like on race day, right down to the grill tape and the window markings, the inspection stickers, that kind of stuff.
What decals are you getting the aftermarkets? It used to be Slicks a long time ago. Who do you got now?
Yep. So Slicks sort of moved on. Now there's a company called Power Slide. They make really great stuff. And along the way, there was like 2 predecessors to Power Slide. Decal technology's come a long way. So this Salvino's JR models, now they're coming out. They came out with over 20 models this year, guys. You want to build Daniel Suarez's car, you can do it. You want to build Eric Jones's car, you can do it. So you have to pick and choose what you're passionate about, and that's still what I'm doing.
Now they got the old molds from Monogram Revell, I think, and that's
Yep.
how they were producing their old stuff too. And I can't remember all of them that they had, but they revived that NASCAR line, and that's great. Now, do you get right from JR? Are you subscribed to them?
Yep, I'm part of their builders club, and so on my car you see Pepsi, but you also see Salvino's JR models because I'm part of their builders club. So I talk to those guys as much as I can. But you're right, they bought all the Revell Monogram stuff. They didn't find everything, so they've had to fill in some gaps.
Well, the tires were licensed at the time, because I know I bought a sprint car model, and not from them, but I brought one of the new ones from Revell. This has been a few years ago. It was a Steve Kinzer deal, and they had nothing on the tires. Well, I had old kits that had the Goodyear ones in them, so I put the Goodyear ones on them, and I was actually disappointed in the kit and got a hold of Revell, and I said, look, you guys are at this, for a company your size, putting out a quality model. This is from 1980, and you guys really didn't put any time in upgrading it. I said, I was kind of disappointed in what you put out. And the guy got back to me and he goes, let me see your finished kit. And he says, let me know what you changed on it. And I showed him full color photos. I had regular photos on an iPad, and sent it to him, and he goes, your work is unbelievable. And he goes, thanks for letting us know about that. And I said, I was just concerned. I think for upgrading a kit, for what was involved, you guys could have did all this stuff yourself. So I thought that was kind of neat that they reach out to me to look at my stuff as well. So that was kind of cool too.
So it's just interesting to me that the models are encountering sort of a resurgence, because I mean, for years and years and years, it was just on a decline. You couldn't find what you needed. You know, paints were no longer available. And now these things are they're selling out like hotcakes. People are getting back into it. It's crafty. So it's interesting, but it's still fun for me because it's such a legacy.
Yeah. And some of the stuff they're putting out, the quality is even better than the stuff we had before, even for, dying off for a while. Some of the paints are amazing. I enjoy working with some of that stuff too.
Well, this next gen kit that they created is from scratch. NASCAR and General Motors gave them the 3D CAD model. They cut the molds right off of the design. And so it's completely accurate. I mean, right down to, rotors, the rack and pinion steering. I mean, it's really incredible detail. And so the build-up time is, they're molding a lot of stuff in color for people that can't paint or don't want to paint. They're making it so you can do it quicker. So I build about one a month for me. That's what fits my, lifestyle. But I mean, there's people that crank one out every week.
Nice. Yep. Yeah, we'll have to talk off camera more about this, because I could take up a whole show just on the model building. But I know it's the top of the hour, and that's Robert Cook's time.
What? No. Are we gonna get back to Ricky here too?
I think so.
Good, because I want to know.
Yeah,
about
we
this.
got a whole other topic.
Because I want to know about that steering wheel situation here.
Yeah, that's definitely on my mind. Because see, everything that Ricky's told us so far has talked about his passion for racing and what led him up to iRacing. And when we get back from the next segment, we wrap up with the final segment with Ricky. I want to get into iRacing and how he got into it, and again talking about some of us who have done sim racing for a long time. When we got into iRacing, we brought some equipment with us, and we want to talk about that a little bit with Ricky too in the next segment with him. But Robert, right now we're going to transition into your favorite segment of the week, and I'll let you go ahead and introduce it.
It's time for the wall of shame.
The wall of shame.
Now, Ricky,
our most requested segment each and every week.
Ricky said he likes it.
I get complaints when we don't do it. So we're going to head into the wall of shame. Here we go, guys. I'm going to share my screen with everybody.
I'm looking forward to it, Robert. I want to hear what you got to say, but I am looking forward to talking about my mean teammates later on.
All right.
There we go. So, guys, here we want to start with the good list here, and it's all on your screen now. We're checking in on our championship points leaders here for the season, getting an update there. Cody Trendy still in the championship points lead for the entire season now. He is at 62-30. That is just crazy, the amount of championship points there has been in this season so far, as Ricky and I was talking about. I mean,
it's only 400 points now. Yeah, what's the big deal there? What happened?
Well, he had some tough races. I know there at Darlington he blew up, I think, and lost a little bit of his lead there, but still, like a 400-point lead. But I'm just saying, just the sheer number of points. He's at 62-30, and these SOF races, I mean, they're like, we're getting like 5,400 strength of fields. I think we even saw a 6,400 strength of field, one of them there this last race at Kansas, and it was the highest strength of field I think I've ever seen on iRacing in a race. And so, I mean, they're just pulling insane amounts of championship points this year. Cody Chlindy is at 62.30 in the lead. Brandon Schmidt, his new teammate there at Ryko, they picked him up. He's second place now. So Ryko's holding the first and second place spots here on the board. 58.30 is Brandon Schmidt. Go check him out on YouTube as well. You got Justin Smith, 55.46 in fourth place. John Jenkins with Elite Performance Industries. He is in fourth place, 54.14. Mike T. Bruno still sticking it out there in the top 5. I think he's the only non-setup shop guy in the top 5. Mike Bruno there with phase 2. 53.23 is where he's at on championship points. Then you got Johnny Baldridge at 59 and 6th. Anthony, then we're dropping below 5,000 championship points. You got Anthony Federico, 7th, Tommy Gossett, 8th, Eric Schaefer in 9th, and Brad Mahar in 10th place. And the thing about Brad is dominating in these things, Trace. And his I rating is like 8,000 something. He has one of the highest I ratings of an oval racer I think I've ever seen. Maybe
but he only ran
higher.
10 less races than the other guys here too.
Yeah, he has 10 less races than the other guys, and he still is in 10th place overall at 44.19. That goes back to what me and Ricky were talking about earlier is Ricky, I'm telling you, that's probably what I finished with last year. And we still have probably, eight more weeks to go in the season or something. And I think last year I finished with like 4,400 points or something like that. And I finished 10th overall for the whole season, and we still have several weeks to go. I mean, it's just insane the amount of championship points that's getting thrown around this year.
I tip my hat to these guys. I mean, there's some races where I don't even see them. I mean, they start up front and they're gone. Like the race is over, and I'm like, I don't even know what some of their cars look like.
Yeah, Brad.
Well, you should watch our strength. Like. You should watch our strength of field, and you know.
Yeah.
You'll know where they're at.
Yeah.
Well, Ricky, here's the thing, though, dude. You've raced all the championship races, or at least most of them this year, if not all. And man, you're at 14th on the blank. You've missed 1 week is all you've missed. You're at 29 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're at 29 weeks out of a total of 30. So we got 9 more to go. And you're at 20, and you're at 14th. That's still solid. I mean, it's still rock solid.
Well, I'm fighting. I mean, I'll say that. Like, I approach every week wanting to do the best I can. So again, I tip my hat to, the guys up at the top there. But I mean, I look at some of the people who are down, like Kyle Myers or Jonathan Dalrymple. I mean, they're only at 18 races. So I think at the end of the season, I think they'll move up in these standings.
Well, some of those they were farming when they had a good race out there.
I think there's like 6 drop weeks. I'm pretty sure.
30. We count 31 of 37. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So I think there's 6 drop weeks at the end of the season. They drop 6. So those guys will move up in points some. And then we also want to mention Ron Walsh, one of your teammates there at Fastlane.
Yeah.
Ron is currently setting 19th overall in championship points. Kyle Myers, like you mentioned, a friend of the channel, he's setting in 22nd now. Jonathan Dalrymple, 23rd. And so, I mean, there's a real solid list of guys here still in the top 25.
So
let's look at this week.
So think about this, Mike. Ron Walsh, who's 19th, he's a 6,000 I rating.
Oh yeah.
Crazy. I mean,
Ron dominates the races that we're in. He'll start from the back, drive clear to the front. We talked to him about that last week or 2 weeks ago in the podcast. We took last week off because of the holiday.
Well, this is why I think it's great that you guys do the SOF thing on Monday night, because this is a lot of talent in that race. It's a great race.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look. Let's pull down this week specifically. This is week 30, and we'll see how that
shouldn't be that high because there shouldn't be that many wrecks here.
Look at this. This is the most amount of championship points I've ever seen in one race. Brad Mahar winning that 6,400 strength of field, highest strength of field I've ever seen in iRacing. He won that thing. I got 337 championship points in one race. Unbelievable.
Look at the pros that are in there. You got four pros that raced that race too.
Yes, you did.
Look.
I'm trying to remember who all was in that race.
Well, I see Caden Honeycutt. I see Clanton Hoffman.
And
Yes.
Derek's in there.
Is he?
Yeah.
Andrew Navarro or is that
Michael Guest.
Oh, Michael Guest.
is a
Yeah.
pro
Yep.
driver.
Yep. I missed him. And then Conti's in there too. Michael Conti. Man, oh man. Week 13, huh? Look who
Yeah,
showed
week
up.
13, everybody comes out, man. Nothing else is running except B Open and C Open.
Well, it
Right.
was kind of like the perfect storm, week 13 at Kansas. I mean, what a great sort of opportunity for everyone to run a track that is so competitive.
Yeah, there's so many lines, and people really weren't running into people. There really wasn't that many cautions during the race. We had a few that had a couple, but some of these went green all the way.
So I
was
missed
3 wide around the track a few times.
So I missed the top split Monday night, and my I rating was 48.50.
Yeah, we talked about that.
The
being,
lowest I rating in the Monday night strength of field was like 5,200.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. But
Insane.
the second split Monday night did go caution free. So again, the talent is deep.
So let's go now and instead of looking at championship point leaders this week, we're going to look at incident point leaders.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Got to
That's
hit
for
it
the,
again.
you still got the race.
So this is Division 1. We have let's see, Eduardo Dantas, he had 53 overall with 10 starts, but it looks like right here Jacob Smith.
Mike, I think Mikey might have won this one.
Really?
Yeah.
You had
had
nine
18.
per race, Mike.
In 2 race. Oh, that's
Oh, wait a minute. You got that. Okay, Mike, that's all right. You got this Matt something Foreca. He's 19th. He did 1 race and did 16 incidents. So I guess you're all right.
Oh, who is
Oh
that?
yeah,
now?
there's 2 down there.
There's 2 down there like that.
Fruit tonight. Nick, how do you say that word? New England.
Marcus.
Marcus. Well,
You know, Mike-
yeah. 16. Well, that's only 1 race, but 16 in 1 race. And then you had the guy above me here, Brian Narducci had
10 per race.
10 per race, 2 races of 20. Sure. Man, I'm glad I'm off the hook this week. I think you guys got me last week or the week before. I can't remember. I won one of these here for Division 1 here a while back.
You know,
This is our
Mike, though,
Division 1. I'd say our Division 1 winners, we'll call them co-winners. We got one with 2 races and 10 incidents a race, and Eric Schaefer there. Is that Eric? No, not Eric.
But blow him, that Matt.
Marcus had 1 race with 16.
And
so-
the guy above him too. He had 16.
you know, those
Yeah,
other guys, if those other guys aren't on here though, Mike, but you are. You could explain to us what your 9 incident points per race looked like. Other people running into you, or what's going on?
All right, well, I'll do
Wall
that.
slamming,
I'm
wall
going to announce our
slamming.
winners there. We got co-winners, Marcus there and Matt, and then our runner-up this week is Brian, up there in 13th on the incident points, 10 per race. So I had 9 per race. All right. So it looked like this. I think about I got 12 in 1 race, I think, and the other race was mild. It was like a couple of contacts, but I never got wrecked out. Like I never got wrecked. I never went down on horsepower. It was all just stupid bumping around, like 2 and 3 wide, coming out of turns at Kansas and stuff. I think in 1 race, Eduardo Dantas, the guy up there that has the most incident points with 10 starts, I think he door banged me once, and then he turned himself across my nose one time when he wasn't clear and just
Was
shot
that
up in front
him?
of me.
Was that him? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was him. So
That was Narducci.
I got 12 in 1 race is how that happened, and and I'd say at least 8 of them or more, or maybe all 12 of them came from.
Oh, we was in that race,
Eduardo.
wasn't we, Robert?
Yeah, we were in that
Yeah.
one. That's when I got mad at you for not passing Mikey because Mikey was slowing us down. He wouldn't let you have that run off. And we
Mikey
got-
wouldn't give it to me. He just
I
stayed
know.
on my outside.
Yeah, and he
Just
had to
like-
run up.
He run me door to door. He wouldn't
If
let me pass
if
him.
he gave us that room to get around him in turn 4, we would have left him.
And that was
Yeah.
10 laps we did that or something.
Yeah,
He just wanted to race me, I guess. I don't know what his deal was.
you know,
He
all
wouldn't
he
let
had
me
to do-
go.
You guys just like complaining.
My
we
own
could-
teammate was keeping my
was
my
watching-
progression from happening because he wouldn't get off my door.
I was watching the video on YouTube with him, and your guys were going in turn 1, and you were clearly on the outside of him, and he had plenty of room to let you in down low. And Mikey, oh, I didn't see you there. How could you not see him there?
If you listen to the stream, I saw a car. I just wasn't paying attention to
No,
who it was.
yeah, you don't care. You got eyes focused. There's no care about your teammates, and we're trying to. If you let us go earlier in that race, you probably would have not got that wreck from Evaldo or whatever. You probably wouldn't have got wrecked by him.
He was racing my doors off, wasn't he,
Yeah,
Robert?
yeah,
He was behind me.
Yeah, it was making me mad.
You guys done?
No.
Mike, we got to have you on as a guest
Hey,
because I'm going
hey,
to tell
the
you
other
what, we
day-
got a lot of people watching and the chat's blowing up right now.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, Mike. I tell you what, Ricky, do you guys do that when you got a teammate that you know that's quicker than you are? Do you
Right.
back up? Do
That's
you back
Ron,
up?
isn't it?
Yeah.
Ron Watts.
Yeah,
Mike
how does
only
Fast
uses
Lane
his-
do it? Do you
with
guys
his-
have a,
Do you
He
guys
says
back
Mike
up a
only
little bit
uses
and let
gas-
them go?
Well, he says Mike only uses his gas pedal, his brake pedal is other cars.
But Ricky, do you when your teammates are running side by side, when you guys are running, don't you say, "Well, you're faster, I'm going to let you go"? Do you do that? Explain that to Mikey. That's how you're supposed to do it.
I will say this: this was a good week for everyone to not be in the same race and have a spotter. There was a lot of restarts, green, white, checkers, 3 wide going into turn 1, and if you're doing that with 4 teammates, it gets pretty thick. So this was a good week to stagger your runs.
Well, you didn't tell him just to back up and let his teammate go, Ricky.
Well, maybe it was one to go. I don't know. Maybe it was
No,
Oh,
no. This is-
We had
this is
plenty
not-
of laps left.
It wasn't even halfway there
Yeah.
yet.
Hey, Robert.
He just
Robert,
wanted to race
hey,
me. He just wanted to run me.
Burkhart says that they kick slow people off their team, and then he named you specifically.
Oh, okay. All right.
That was
Well,
the
the last
problem. You
race
guys
I
were in my
raced,
way.
that last race I raced with him, Brandon finished behind me. So okay.
There you
All right, let's move on to overall. We give our Division 1 winners. I was close, but I narrowly escaped. But here's the overall incident points. Somebody had Donahue Elias had 143 incident points this week alone, but he had 21 starts. So if you get looking down to somebody who's starting to have less starts,
This guy was 7 with 64 incidents.
where
Are
at
you-
Robert?
That's on 22.
22.
James?
James Rayburn Jr. Yes. 7 starts, 64 incidents. Let's see what that is per race.
That's like 9 per race.
9.1.
Oh, he's tied with Mikey then, huh?
He's tied with Mike.
Yeah.
Jeez. I don't know if there's anybody on this page that's going to have more, because I tell you what, when you get to this page, all divisions, there's a lot of guys in here that had a lot of starts.
Well, this
When you
track,
got a lot
I
of
think
starts, you're going to pick up a decent amount of
it, was-
incidents.
a lot of tracks went with 1 wreck or no wreck and no cautions, and it was a big wide track. You had plenty of room.
I think I maybe only got maybe 4 incidences out of 7 races this week.
What's Tommy Helly get for running 30 times? Is that an award? You get an award for that?
I
Yeah, I
don't know,
don't
but
know how
oh,
somebody
wow.
does that. I think our Tracy, our our winner of the most races and the most B Open races in a week that we've ever seen so far is
Stephen
Stephen
Harry.
Harry. He ran
Yeah, we're
38
trying to get-
races in 1 week about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think it was at
Okay.
Darlington. He ran
All
like
right.
38 races in 1 week.
Yep,
Tommy
we're trying to get him.
Tommy didn't have the car with him this week.
He did all right earlier today.
Hey, well, I tell you what. So I'm just gonna call it now. Our winner for overall incidents per race with no division is James Rayburn Jr. He's in division number 4. And James, if you ever want to come on, reach out to us. We'd love to hear your story. The guys beat up on me. I need somebody else to take cover from. I'll
Yeah,
just put you out there in front of me, and you can take cover from these guys.
James
They're
beat
ruthless here on the
James
podcast.
beat Mike by 0.3.
Thank you, Ricky.
But Robert and Scotty, man, they're ruthless. You got to watch out for them. So
Well,
if you ever come on,
I'm
I'll
serious.
duck behind
If
you.
you let Scotty go and let us go, we would have left you behind. You probably would not have got that 4X from what's his name up there.
Probably not.
I told him, I said, Mike, why are you racing me, man? Let me go. Robert's like, come on, Scotty, go. And I'm like, I can't. He won't give me an exit.
Okay, get him on the high side. I can't drive on the high side, too loose.
I can't get a runoff on because he's got the high side blocked. And I'm like,
You guys are gonna have to do your analysis next week after Bristol.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
really. Well, yeah,
We're there
going to
just
be a
for us.
whole lot of incident points.
Yeah,
for
we're
that
there
one.
for just the SR.
Yeah.
yeah, SR.
Well, hey, last thing I was saying, defense of myself, Scotty.
Huh?
At no point was I coming down and pinching. I was just running the high line and was just.
We
up
didn't
there.
say
We
you were
coming
pinching.
off.
You just ruined his. You
Oh
just
no,
ruined
you
his-
wasn't pinching me, but I couldn't get no run because I was, I just couldn't get the run off the corner.
I thought that was pretty low, teammate. And what happened later is Mikey wrecked his car so much that he had to go get damage fixed, and then we left him. I think you finished 6th, didn't you, up Scotty, on that one? I think I finished 9th.
I think so. Yeah, we had a good race that race.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
think
and
that was
I.
one of the nooners.
After we got rid of Mikey out of our way, we finished pretty well.
Exactly. We probably could have been up there in 3rd, and we figure 3rd and 4th, or
Yeah, if Mikey just
if
didn't
Mike
hold
would
us
have got
back.
out of the way and left us alone.
Hey, now.
Yeah. Let's see. Mikey had to hurry up and see how fast he can get up there, hit the wall a few times, damage his car, get it fixed in the pit, and that's how we got around it.
You guys need to have a Monday morning meeting.
Robert.
Put it all behind you. Move on.
Oh, it's
Mike-
behind us, but not forgotten.
This is gonna be one of those stories like Scotty running this over at Richmond. Is it
Oh,
never gonna
yeah.
die?
You guys are never gonna let me live that one down, are you?
No.
Hey, I
Yeah.
want to hear about Ricky's Sidewinder now. I'm
Yeah,
about
that's what
ready for
everybody's
that
asking
story.
about, Trace.
Yeah.
The last segment we're going to do, Ricky, is we got you to iRacing. So let's talk about your iRacing career. And first of all, before we get into the Sidewinder story, how about we'll talk about your team. I mentioned that a lot. You're on Fast Lane Racing. So why don't you tell us about the guys over at Fast Lane and who's there and what you guys do?
Well, first of all, you wouldn't even know about the Sidewinder if it wasn't for the big mouth Brandon Burkhart.
Oh, I
teammate.
knew
Oh, he's
about
down
it.
there
I knew
blowing up
about
the
it.
chat. He won't.
Yeah,
well, I
listen.
knew-
It's
I
on
knew
my
about
list
it,
of
Ricky.
things to talk about with you. And Brandon won't stop blowing up the chat about it.
I
Well-
had a Sidewinder when I started too. Well, not really.
Exactly. Well, we'll talk about it. Okay, so this is a big day for us because we're excited for Ron Walsh. He is hovering right around the 6,000 IR, and that's something we want him to get. So he had a good week at Kansas. He really was sort of the inspiration for the setup this week. So I'll say that. Brandon and I do a lot of setup work. So, Brandon's a former race car driver. And, we enjoy that aspect of it. So Brandon and I are frequently talking about, setups and equipment and stuff. And then John Vanderwall, who he's the reason I'm on Fast Lane. So John and I grew up together. We come from the same hometown, and I got on iRacing and I got in one of these B Open races. I remember it was Darlington, and I looked at these 5 cars with all like paint schemes, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get killed. Like there's like Hell's Angels are here on the track. Well, one of them was John Vanderwall. So after the race, I message him. However, I say, hey, man, I just got on the service, and so that's how I got hooked up with the guys from Fastlane, and I appreciate John doing that. And John's got a lot of irons in the fire, and so He didn't race quite as much this year as what he has in the past. But then Aaron Jackson is our fifth teammate, and Aaron just loves leagues, and he does do some officials, but he loves league stuff, and so we have fun watching him sort of win all those. So that's the team. That's Fast Lane, and we do try and help each other. Believe it or not, we try and help each other. And so they were always asking me, "What kind of equipment are you driving on, man? You know, nice to meet you. How are you doing, and how can we help you?" And it all went from there.
Well, so I think it was funny. You were telling a story yesterday about how you knew John from you guys grew up together, and you said, we played little league baseball together, and then out of nowhere you said, yeah, and John was better, and I was like, yeah, no, really,
Yeah, yeah,
Duh.
yeah. That's
I got a chuckle out of that.
Yep. So for anyone that doesn't know, John was a fabulous baseball player, and you know, glad to call him a friend. But he's also a really good race car driver. He's got a great rig. My first upgrade was the pedals. So he was selling the Fanatic
V3s.
V3s inverted, and he came over to my front door, and he's like, "Here they are." And you know, from there, I was like, "Oh wow, that's a huge upgrade." So I knew these guys could help me.
So like when I came into iRacing, Ricky, I brought I already had some equipment, I had some Thrustmaster stuff, and I brought it over, and I didn't have to buy anything. I just had to buy the software. I was already into sim racing and was doing that kind of, I had been for several years. The most recent time I got back into it, but then I was into it also in the early 2000s with Papyrus and some different stuff. And I was in college, and I had my CRT like 15 or 17-inch monitor, and I had my eyes, up to the screen all glued in, and I had we talked about this today. I had a Microsoft Sidewinder. Now I had the cheaper version that just had the center spring.
You had the toy.
Yeah, I had the toy with the center spring and the cheap plastic pedals and all that stuff. And that was my first real dabble into legitimate sim racing. I would say legitimate because I played some NASCAR games like the Nintendo 64 with a controller and stuff. I don't really count that. That's just video gaming. But actual simulator, I bought it, got into it. I had that with that center spring on it. And I can't remember whatever happened to that Sidewinder. I think it got put in a box and I moved around. I don't even know whatever happened to it. But man, you kept that Sidewinder for, it's like you were married to that thing. You kept it for how many years, and you started iRacing on that thing, but you had the nicer one. So tell people about the one you had, and how long you had it, and all the sim titles you raced on with it.
Well, when you sign up for iRacing, you got to make an investment in, new monitor, new gaming unit, you're putting all this stuff together. And I looked at that and I'm like, well, I already have a wheel. I mean, I've had a wheel for 20 some years that I've been using for, Papyrus's NASCAR 1999.
The same wheel.
The same wheel.
Multiple wheels. You had the same wheel for 20.
Oh, I did the same thing.
So back in 1999, the Sidewinder with force feedback was the wheel that I had bought, and pedals, the wheel and pedal set that I bought. And back then, I mean, there was a Thrustmaster, there was, there was about three to choose from.
Mono or something like that.
Yep.
Mono.
Yep. There was
Momo.
that.
I had one.
Yeah, it was the Logitech Momo.
So basically,
I had TSW as well.
I had used that, everything I told you, playing with my friend or the guys at lunch, or driving through the years, like that's the wheel I had and I used, so I was very familiar with it. So I signed up for iRacing, got on the service, and that's the thing I plugged in. And I kid you not, it was plug and play. Like I plugged it in and it recognized it.
I can't believe it still worked. Like that's my thing. Like I cannot believe that the thing still worked and the force feedback was compatible and like everything.
I set the strength, I set the force, I set the dampening, and the thing was working. And I was, my very first race, street stock, Charlotte, pole. Second race, pole. Third race, pole. I'm like, this is going to be easy. Like this is great. Well, what I do, I guess I used that wheel for 2 years until this February. My teammates, my mean teammates, were telling me, Brandon, he just packed up a G29 and sent it to my house with a box.
Unsolicited. Just
Unsolicited.
showed up
I get
one day
this
on your
box.
doorstep. Right?
Fragile, STP, car parts inside. He's like, hook that thing up, get rid of the Sidewinder. I tried it. You guys, I tried it for a week. It was the most painful. No, I didn't. It wasn't a week. It was 3 days. After 3 days, I ripped that thing out. I said, I can't do it. You don't understand. They're like, you gotta upgrade. You gotta upgrade. So they worked hard. I one day I think I said to them, you guys need to shut up or I'm going to quit. You know,
Let me ask you a question. How mad were you when somebody mailed you a free gift that showed up on your doorstep?
well, if it was somebody else, you'd be mad, but because it's Brandon, it's expected. You know, it's like, yeah, okay, thanks a lot, Brandon. So now I got to send it back to you. Thanks for making me pay a $30 freight bill to send you back your piece of junk G29.
We're laughing about the Sidewinder. It's 27 years old, but I want to say Microsoft made some really solid products back in the late 90s, like 99, 2000, right around that range, 98, 99. They made the Sidewinder steering wheels. They had a center spring version and the force feedback version. And I think that was the first serious force feed. I mean, I would say mainstream force feedback wheel that was out there. And then they also made a game pad. I grabbed one of those, like a controller to play PC games with. And then the other thing I picked up, I had all of it. I had the flight stick, and I was into flight sims back then more than I was into racing sim stuff. And so I love my go-to game was the Microsoft Combat Flight Simulator with like the World War II planes, the P-51s and all that stuff. And I got the force feedback version of the flight stick, which I can't find the force feedback flight stick anymore. I don't know where there's a cheap one around. I've got a cheap flight stick now that doesn't have force feedback, but man, I got that nice force feedback one with the flight stick, and it was some decent amount of force in that thing, Ricky. It was nice. Again, I don't know whatever happened to that. I wish I still had it because I can't find a flight stick anymore. It has force feedback without paying like stupid amount of money for it.
Ricky, the only problem I had with the Sidewinders was the spraying on the pedals, and I had to go to work, and I got the little teeny, looks like really miniature box springs is what basically I stuck them underneath my pedals, and that's instead of the little spring they had.
Robert, you got to put an egg under your foot, easy on the throttle, take it easy. But yes, that was probably the weak part of the whole Sidewinder setup was the spring on the pedals, and so when John helped me upgrade the pedals, it was instantaneously, I like these better, like no question. That was easy. But the wheel was a 2-week fiasco. And
so let me ask you this: when you hooked up the G29, you said it lasted 3 days. What was your experience with that thing?
So we were at Dover, and you guys were really strong at Dover, but I had a pretty good setup at Dover too. So we were pretty competitive together, right? I had so many laps at Dover that I knew specifically lap times that I expected. So I put the G29 on. I couldn't make a lap. The dead zone in the top of the wheel for me was just unrecoverable to the point where I couldn't make a lap. And I mean, they got me downloading G Hub and changing all the settings, and the force is going up and then it's going down. And I just was like, you guys, you don't understand. I'm moving the wheel 20 degrees and the car is just going straight. Like there's no feel in this thing. So I think Brandon sent me a super used defective G29 or something, because in the Sidewinder, I never lost. I didn't have a dead zone. I mean, I always knew.
No, that's not the story I heard from Brandon. Brandon said the wheel worked perfectly fine. It was just all user error. It was all your fault.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. So
that's the story. That's the story I heard.
So I took it off. I put the Sidewinder back on, and I said,
"You didn't damage it as you took it off. Like throw it against the wall." Yeah.
I took it with me into the bathroom before I shipped it back to him. Anyway, I put the Sidewinder back on and I said, I got to race. I mean, I got to race. And so Brandon actually found, or Brandon, those guys, they're kind of like you, Mike. They love, and Tracy, they love buying equipment, looking equipment. They found this used 2.5 wheel.
That's solid. I had one of those, man. Those things are
Well,
solid.
Brandon's going, he's like, this is great, man. You and I are going to be on the same wheel and all kinds of stuff. And I bought the 2.5 and I hooked it up and I got the new rim for it. And I'm matching my lap times at Dover. And I'm like, okay, I think this is going to work. You know, you guys, you did it. You helped me out. And then Brandon's like, yeah, I bought a new wheel. I'm no longer on the 2.5. So
Sounds like something Mike would do.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, I had the 2.5 for a while, and honestly, I wasn't looking to upgrade. I was happy with it, Ricky. The only reason I upgraded is because I found a one of those deals you can't pass up. You know,
Flavor
locally
of
on
the week.
Facebook, where I was able to trade my 2.5 plus a little bit of cash for a DD1, and so I did it. But but I wasn't out actively looking. You know what I mean? Like I was just perusing Facebook Marketplace one day and saw it and like, oh, that's a good deal. And but if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have done it because I was completely happy with the 2.5. It puts out 8 Newton meters of torque, and that's plenty, man. That's and I bet you don't even run it at 8, do you, Ricky?
I don't, because again, for me, it was trying to get a little bit of a familiar feel, and the Sidewinder couldn't generate that level of resistance. So, you know, I don't use what the wheel's capable of. But, you know, a couple of my teammates were on direct drive. And they're like, you know, you should really go that route. And this was a deal. This was a good deal. And I said, I'll incrementally, you know, step up. So,
Well, I don't care what Brandon says, and he's listening now. I don't care what he says. There's not that much difference. Like legit, I went from the 2.5 to the DD1, and other than and I just couldn't tell that. I could tell a little bit, but I mean, it was not like a big step forward. It was not that much different because that belt drive and that 2.5, I mean, that's the premium top of the line belt drive. It's not, I just couldn't feel a huge difference. In fact, I know Brandon really cranks up his force feedback, and I got mine cranked up pretty high. I'm running mine at 12 Newton meters. That's 60% of the total that mine can do, man. And I've still busted my knuckles getting the wheel ripped out of my hand with my F1 wheel on a road course when I spun out the F3 car or something. It just you rip it out of my hands at 12 Newton meters and bust my knuckles on the shifters. So there's no way I want to go any higher than 12. So, you know, it's like, I don't know. I would have been happy staying with the 2.5. I think you'll be happy for a long time with that.
yeah, for you and Brandon, you guys like to hit a lot of walls. You wouldn't
Hey,
think
now, come on.
wouldn't think you'd want to turn the force up all that high, but yeah, I mean, so for me, I mean, I got to be honest with you. I can no longer imagine having to take this off to try a different wheel again. You know what I mean? Like it was like, I'm happy. I hope this lasts, and you know, I'll keep driving this for the rest of the season for sure.
Who made the wheel that had NASCAR in the center as a center hub, and it came with a plastic brake and gas on one base and suction cups? You remember who made that?
I never had a wheel with suction cups, Scotty.
Yeah, and it did. That's how it was attached to the desk, and it would vibrate. It had a vibration in it for force feedback. That was what I had back in the early 90s when Papyrus Days was out.
You know,
but I can't remember who made it.
I don't remember either, but I remember during the early COVID, you know, everybody was looking at what Timmy Hill was driving. Right? I mean, Timmy Hill was driving on some old 20-year wheel and having success. So it's possible. I mean, you know, it worked for me. It got me through a year and a half of iRacing.
I was just shocked, man, because you were solid, you know, in that thing for a couple of years. And whenever Brandon told me that's what you were driving, I was like, no way. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, wow. I was like, first of all, I can't believe it's still running. And after 20 some years. And second of all, I was like, that's impressive to be able to be racing that good on such old equipment. I was like, man, especially with a lot of people out there racing on some of the nicer top of the line equipment.
It would have been a great excuse if I would have run into you. I could have just said, Mike, you don't understand. I'm on a sidewinder. Give me a break.
Yeah, that would have been like, oh, well, okay, there's nothing I can say to that.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's a good one.
Well, you got me there. I don't have that excuse. You're like, Mike, you got a nice direct drive wheel. What are you doing running into me? And I'm like, I don't know. I got no defense.
He didn't see you because he was only looking straight ahead. Yeah.
Hey, Ricky, did you ever see if Johnny wanted to get on the sim? Johnny Benson?
I never did, but you know who I'm currently talking to is a former ASA Rookie of the Year, Dave Sensiba.
Yeah.
So when I retired, I was looking at buying a real race car. It's a Michigan Indiana series. It's called VROA, Vintage Racing Organization of America. It's kind of like Legends in a way. It's 1935, 39 body styles, and
they come to Sandusky because I know they run in. Like, they're probably coming up to run. I remember seeing those.
Yeah, so Dave's a friend of mine, and he just won the VROA championship this year, and so kudos to him. But I was looking at buying into that series, and during the conversation, I just told him, I said, you don't understand. I mean, I get to race every day at, tracks, NASCAR tracks that I love, driving the Xfinity car, setting it up. I don't have a fire suit, a helmet, a Hans device, or anything else. And he says, I might like to take a crack at that. And I said, come on over. I'll show you everything, what we're doing, and you take a look at it. So, Johnny, no, but maybe there's some other guys who
absolutely
do some real racing that would be interested in it. So, yeah.
Good deal. Yeah, I was just curious because being up there with all that whole family of racing up there, that'd be a good thing for him. At least I think so.
I would love. I mean, I don't know how iRacing goes about selecting the new tracks that they add. Maybe that, Mike, that's something but like for me, so Berlin is a NASCAR track, right? I mean, they've got that, and I would love to see Berlin scanned because when the drivers come here, like this year, they had the William Byron and Eric Jones are here, and Ty Majeski and all those guys, and they're doing the late model series. Every one of them says this track is so unique. It feels like a circle, like you're never out of G-forces. And I think it'd be a fabulous track on iRacing. I really do.
How big a track is it?
So it's just under half mile.
So it's okay.
It's 7/16.
Okay.
Yeah, Ricky, I don't know if you figure out how to get them to scan a track. Let me know because I'd love to get them to come down and scan the West Virginia Motor Speedway. It's about 5 minutes or 10 minutes from my house.
Me too. I would be up for that.
Yeah, it's a great dirt track. I mean, no joke. It's a fast one. It's more than a half mile, isn't it? It's a 5/8. Yeah, it's a 5/8 mile dirt track.
Oh, wow.
That thing is fast. They
run
the
super late models and sprint cars run on there, and I've been down there for the flat track motorcycles as well. But they just cleaned it up. Michael will have to tell a story about it. I don't remember the history, but they had reopened it. They ran the World of Outlaws super late models this last year. And they absolutely destroyed the place. Those engines were just hammering going around that place.
Well, they run the super late models there, and they also run the 410 sprint cars there. I mean, it's insane. The track's so big. I'd say it's probably almost as big as Eldora. I mean,
plus it's red clay, which is a lot of traction.
Yeah, it's red clay, and it's really wide as well. I mean, it is just fast dirt track.
Mikey, I sent you a picture of what Scotty's running right now for his rig.
No, that's not what I'm running now, but that's what I started off with. I even drove NASCAR Heat, I think, with that wheel and gas pedal.
Hey, Scott. Brandon, when you were talking about that setup you had with the suction cups and the NASCAR logo and all that stuff, he went and found a picture of it and sent it to me in a message. and he didn't put the name of it. I'm trying to see if it was a Logitech.
I think it's a Logitech.
It says Logitech on the bottom of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Logitech.
yeah. But
Yeah.
he sent a picture of it. So yeah, it was. I thought it was a Logitech. I think I
That
said
was
that
my
when you
first
talked
wheel
about
and
it.
gas pedal right there.
Brandon
Gas
probably
pedal on
dug it
brake.
out from underneath the bed is what he did.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would love to have him come scan that track, Ricky. It's pretty wild. It was a big
That got
it
stolen
was
in
a
a
big
storage.
popular track back in the 90s. And they had a lot of stuff going there. They even had some NASCAR stuff, not the Cup Series, but they had some NASCAR. I don't know if there was NASCAR stuff that ran on the dirt or not, but they had some of that. There was races there every week, and I lived even closer to it then. I lived like maybe 5 minutes from it, so close that in the housing development area I lived in, I mean, every Saturday night, man, you could just hear it. The engines, and it was probably
Oh, that had to
mile
suck,
away, or
Mike. That would have to be
hear-
terrible.
Oh man, you can hear the sound, and my mom and dad hated it. Like they'd be trying to relax at the house on a Saturday, and you could just, I mean, you could hear it inside the house. It was so loud and stuff, and especially outside and everything. But and the track was real popular, and all the Outlaw series and all the top dirt series came there. And then I don't know what happened; like it just shut down all of a sudden.
The only thing I remember on the initial shutdown, something about the promoter and couldn't afford the insurance, I think was for it.
Yeah, that's
I don't know
what
if there was
I
a
remember that.
fatality or
It was
something.
it was an insurance deal.
Yeah.
He couldn't get a cheap affordable insurance or something. It was too expensive, and he closed. And they let that track go. I mean, for like 15 years or
Long
more.
time.
Yeah, maybe 15, 20 years. Grass grew up, weeds grew up, and they just let it go. And here about 2 or 3 years ago, somebody else bought it and totally renovated it and opened it back up. And they've been running races there. They have monster truck stuff there. They have Outlaws. They have super late models. They have all the cool series is back. They're not running as many
Shut up.
races each season as they used to, but they're running some. And I've been out there a couple times since it's opened back up. And like I said, I'd love to have iRacing come and scan it while it's still in good condition. And because you never know, it could get closed down again.
Well, okay, so I don't know if you guys used to watch like Junior's Lost Speedways or
Yes.
I mean, just the whole story of North Wilkesboro. What you're describing is basically the same opportunity, that there's this revival resurgence of an old track. Now would be a great time to scan it, get it recorded, right, for history. And then depending on what happens in the future, people can continue to drive it, because there's some speedways that are gone that will never get the opportunity to do that on, so
Well, iRacing in this last build just said that one of the V8 supercar tracks is gonna, after this race, they're gonna close it and destroy it, and iRacing is gonna scan it. So obviously they're aware of that kind of thing and want to preserve those tracks. So I think if just anybody gets a hold of anybody at iRacing is not a bad thing. It doesn't have to be anybody specific. So shoot them a
I would
message
love
and say,
to.
hey,
I'd love to
Yeah.
have them come down and scan the West Virginia Motor Speed. And the thing with it, Ricky, is it's not an obscure track. I mean, it was a big track on that circuit back in the 90s.
right. It's right
And-
off I-77.
Yeah,
You
it's
can see
right.
it.
It's located literally right on I-77. As you drive by down I-77, it's right there. You can see if there's a race going, you can see the races while you drive down the interstate. And I-77 is a big corridor goes all the way from Trace Ware up where you're at in
Cleveland,
up in
all the way from
Cleveland.
Cleveland. Yeah.
Up in Cleveland, clear down past the Carolinas into Georgia. I mean, I-77 is a big hub there, and it's right off I-77. And Tracy used to drive down the 90s, clear from up in the Cleveland area, clear down here to West Virginia, just to watch races at this track. I mean, it was a pretty major dirt track back in the 80s and 90s. And I just, that's why I kind of like him to do it, because it was a pretty major piece of dirt track history. And I think now's a good opportunity. So yeah, if anybody figures that out, let me know. I'll send a message to whoever I got to send one to.
Well, I'm sure iRacing tracks sort of usage of the dirt stuff versus the late model stuff. I mean, maybe they're putting their efforts to where people are going. I don't know, but it seems like the dirt stuff's getting pretty popular to me.
It is. It's pretty fun. I race that a lot. Trace does too. So.
Well, Ricky, what do you recommend for the new guys coming up? What to start out with, and how do they, like setting the cars up or what?
Well, that's a good question, Robert. I think, for me, you, I like the idea that iRacing makes you grow up through the ranks, right? Because driving the street stocks, fixed races, you learn some stuff, and you should really have to master that before you move on to trucks. I don't like the guys that just say, I want to speed through safety rating to get up to the A level before they've ever raced hard, or that kind of thing. So I would say embrace the idea of the slow progression forward, but then also ask questions. To be honest with you, my teammates helped me a ton. I mean, I was growing, but then when I met them, I mean, I grew exponentially faster. So ask for help, ask around, ask what you should do, ask questions, watch the Area 51 videos, learn from that. But once I got into, so I made the decision that I wanted to get into open, because as I told you, I enjoy that. I enjoy the mechanical aspect of it. For me, it wasn't about IROC racing with a fixed setup against, a bunch of other people. I wanted to see if I could make the car go faster. So once I got into open, Robert, then I would say it's a smaller pool of people that you can talk to, but ask questions, ask for help, and don't try and rush it.
You like tinkering
Ricky,
in the
I got-
garage, though, don't you? Like tinkering in the garage a lot, don't you?
I love it.
Oh, I do too.
I mean, I first of all, I'm a huge fan of Stint Analyzer.
Yes.
I will, and if you're an engineer, you will not change 3 things in the garage and then go out and test.
Yeah, you change one thing at a time.
You
and
change
test.
one thing at a time.
There you go.
You document the stuff. And if you want to test 3 laps, go for it. I test 20. I'll test half a fuel run. I'll do a lot of test laps, and I'll try and learn A, where speed comes from, B, where balance comes from, what gets turned in, what's loose off, just figure out the different changes that can, give you the feel you're looking for. And I mean, what'd we say? We got 37 races on the schedule this year. Well, one of them's my best, one of them's my worst. all the rest of them are in between. And so just embrace the schedule, and I love the off season. You know why? I treat it like testing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when we go last year, we went to some tracks like Dover, whatever. I'm not afraid to try some stuff. So
Now, Rick, equipment wise, are you on triples, and have you ever tried VR?
I've never tried VR. So my setup right now, I'm set up for triples.
So Brandon, if you're listening, I'm just kidding. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, Ricky, and I wish I would have known. I would have sent you the link last night at the 11th hour too. You missed out on the deal of the year.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Gotcha.
go ahead, bud.
Yep. Gotcha. Well, we were I'm trying to. So Aaron, our teammate, Aaron Jackson, was on VR. And so just through conversation and talking, I sort of concluded it wasn't necessarily for me. So I have the graphics card and the desktop and everything set up for triples. However, right now I'm running 49-inch ultra wide in front of me, and I'm using my left screen for telemetry, and my right screen is sitting here just black. Just haven't activated it yet. So that's my setup, and that's where I hope to go. But yeah, right
now
now.
You say telemetry. Are you into Motec then, I'm assuming?
That it was.
Well,
Stint Analyzer.
yeah, Stint Analyzer and VRS, and one of our team has Motec, and so we look at some of that stuff. But even as the race is going, sim racing apps.
Yeah.
overlays, things like that. So, Discord. So I've got the keyboard and information to my left. It could be up above me, but right now it's working pretty well. So
I like the widescreen. That helped me out a ton. I
How
had
much
small
can you see
triples.
on that widescreen? I'm just curious. What's your field of view like on the widescreen, 49-inch?
yeah, so that's been a point of discussion too. I have slowly been getting a little closer and closer to where I see really just the top of the wheel now, and I see just from the front of the window net, through. So most of my right side stuff, I either have to look right or I just have to hear it.
So what field
Yeah.
of view are you using? Like I'm using 114 on my screen.
I think I'm at 105.
Okay. Yeah. I was like at 103, 105, and I'm assuming you use the calculator to determine that.
I did at one time, and then I think I altered it from there.
Did Brand, have you and Brandon had that conversation? Cause I know he and I did, and he was very helpful with that too.
Yeah, more than once. Brandon's a little closer to the screen than I am. John Vanderwall's a little closer to the screen than I am. But I kid you not, in real world, like literally my face to my wheel to my screen is a pretty dead on match for what I'm seeing.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
so I personally like that. I feel like I can see things the way I need to. So
Yeah, and that's kind of how Brandon explained it to me, was to just get things in perspective, how you normally see them, and don't worry about the number. So he said more people are worried about crunching those numbers and getting them exact instead of what looks good for you, right?
yeah, so I started with the 49-inch ultra wide, so I know no differently. But I do feel like that's similar to what I would see out of a real sort of,
Environment.
environment.
Now,
Right.
Rick, you
Okay.
said 49-inch ultra wide. Is that the Samsung Odyssey G9 super ultra wide deal like Tracy has, or do you have something different?
It's the Samsung, but it's 2 years old, and I'm trying to remember now. Like this, I think this is the 144 hertz refresh rate.
Yeah,
but
because they've made the G9. They keep calling it's still the G9, but they make different years of it, and they even right now they make 2 or 3 different models. They make a 240 hertz, a 144, I think a 120 or so. I don't know, but so you got the 144 hertz version from a couple years ago, but it is the G9. Yeah, that's the massively wide one. That's like having 2 27-inch monitors side by side, basically, is what it is.
Yeah. So again, I think it's a little bit what you get used to, and for me, this is working pretty good. I will at some point activate my right screen, because sometimes when you're coming out of the corner, you want to drift up and use as much track as you can, but you want to give the other guy some room. And this week at Kansas, I heard more than once, "You're 3 wide," and I'm like, "You're kidding me!" Like,
I was
man.
3 wide for like 2 laps, I think it was. And Brandon Burkhart said he enjoyed the watching us go 3 wide around the track. And then I just stayed in my middle lane.
Yep. So again, if I happen to run into any of you guys, I apologize, but it's because I can't see out my right window. Sorry.
So make sure we pass you on the left then.
Yeah, exactly what I was
I'm on a
thinking. Stay away from
32-inch
your right
monitor.
side.
I can't see left or right. So, I go by hearing and my crew chief.
I love the sound. That's so again, it's a pretty immersive experience. But you guys, you like the VR? That's
Well, I do, and Bobby Harmon does. Tracy does, but his headset was pretty old. He likes that new monitor, but we're about to get him hooked on VR again. But Scotty and Robert run on Scotty's got a single 32-inch monitor, and Robert's got his triples. But so we're kind of a mixed bag here, But,
VR for me was more emerged, and that's the big thing, is not being able to see out the right side, and that was one thing that the VR did for me. And then also it gave the track more depth and perception, so I could actually, because everybody said, well, you're overdriving, you're overdriving, you're overdriving. I could never tell that on a screen. And then once I got in VR, everything kind of jived. The tachometer would go red, and I could see where I should be entering the corner and getting out of the gas, instead of overdriving it, just sending it in a corner, not having the right depth. It's like 2D versus 3D for me. So that was what I gained out of the VR headset. And I love driving it, especially at night in the NASCAR and stuff. Yeah, that's just a fun time for me.
Well, I think it's possible, right? And appropriate that the same thing doesn't work for everybody. And so that sounds really good, that your reasoning for doing it was to not drive it in too deep, or to be able to get perception like this. So, when Robert asked, what do you tell some of the younger guys, right? I mean, you just can't tell them enough to, you'll go faster if you stay off the throttle, right?
True.
It took me a while to
Slow-
learn that
slow
one.
is
Brandon
fast.
says I don't have a brake pedal. I just use other cars.
Well, and the other thing is, with so many setup shops out there, everybody thinks, and Mike has said this in the past too, you go out there and you buy all these sets, and if you have poor driving habits, the set's not going to matter. And that's the big thing, is you can take a mediocre set, drive it terrible, and that's what you're going to get, is those kind of results. But you can take a mediocre set, drive it reasonable, and you'll have good results, or at least decent results, because everybody complains that the iRacing open set is usually garbage. And in reality, it's not great. They're better than they were. They're at least dedicating some time to it. Bobby Harmon and I went out and was practicing Bristol last night, but we were both on the same set. We weren't looking for the fastest. We weren't tuning the set, but we were tuning our driving to see what our tire wear was. And we weren't close between each other. Bobby had a lot worse tire wear. So that's the thing we stress, is get the driving habits down right, and then let the setup complement it. Don't just invest all your money in the setup and then still have mediocre results and can't figure out why.
Yeah, I gotta give kudos out to Tracy, Robert, and Mike, because they have brought me a long ways from where I was at, and all my driving skills that I've picked up, I owe it all to those three guys. They've been wonderful at helping me.
It's nice to have teammates. My teammates absolutely helped me as well. Ron has preached repeatedly to learn how to drive a setup before you change it. And we hear him loud and clear. And as we go to Bristol this week, Brandon's good at Bristol. He's raced at Bristol. He understands Bristol, and his setup will be different than the rest of us. But that's the beautiful thing about what we're doing, right? I mean, this is fun. This is fun, guys.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
Right.
It has been a lot of fun, and we're coming up against the 12 o'clock hour, or just past it, which is usually when we try to wrap things up. And Trace, you got anything else you want to ask Ricky, or anything else for
Well,
Ricky tonight before we
not-
close this thing out?
Not ask, but I'm going to express some views that he's had, and that's with both the other guys, Brandon coming on and Ron coming on. Just talking to them and understanding them better, and those guys sharing some things with us. I've went back to revisit like force feedback at settings and stuff. I have a sim experience AccuForce wheel, and I was into their software, pretty heavy. And the popular opinion was to get away from that and go back to iRacings and have a better understanding. And I got to admit, Brandon helped me a lot. And it's, Mike, you did a wonderful job, but for some reason there was one part that I didn't click on, and Brandon was able to clear that up for me. And then it's been very good. So I've been practicing with that, trying to get just back to a reasonable setting on that with iRacing. And it's starting to come back a little bit. So that part's been good. Just talking to different guys and getting their views has been very helpful, especially, from your guys' team. Absolutely.
Awesome. I'll let Brandon know that he helped somebody. And
Hey, don't let his head get too big. I mean, he's hard enough to deal with as it is.
yeah, no, like I said, I applaud what you guys are doing. You're trying to help the community. You're making instructional videos. You're doing a great job with your broadcasts. And so mutual respect, from me to you guys. I enjoy seeing you on the track. Mike, I've told you this before. If I have if I have a 10th place car, I really want to be able to get it up to 10th place. So if I try
If you bump him out of the way, he'll understand.
if I bump you out of the way,
Yeah, it'll be nice.
because I couldn't see out the right side.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks for having me on, guys. This was fun.
Yeah, don't be a stranger. If you see us in Discord, and you want to hang out or pop in, whatever, even during a race, after the race, strength of field, we love having you guys. We always offer, don't be a stranger to the channel. Stop back because
Yeah.
you'll be a friend for
especially if
life.
you're lonely over there, nobody else is over in your guys' Discord, and wherever you're racing, you always pop in. Instead of racing by yourself, you can pop in and race with us. We are always welcome.
I
guys,
already talk under caution, so don't bother me while I'm racing.
Hey, I had a good time following you yesterday, Ricky. That was a lot of fun until I got trapped behind them slow cars.
Yep. Hopefully I didn't put you there, but hit the subscribe button. Right.
Yeah.
You got your
Subscribe,
1,000.
like,
You got your 1,000.
ring the notification.
yeah, that's what I'm about to say right now. Yep, haven't done so yet. Hit that subscribe button. We
Yep.
had a good podcast. We have 43 viewers for this podcast tonight. So a lot of people out there checking it out. Ricky, you're a popular guy. The chat blew up tonight. Brandon had a lot to do with that. Chat blowing up down there.
Did
But,
Ricky get his 1,000? Did Ricky get his 1,000?
Yeah, Ricky, go check before we quit. Did
Uh,
you get your 1,000 tonight? We really pushed it during the broadcast.
I'll check while you guys are wrapping up.
Yeah, there we go. So anyway, guys, we're trying to become a YouTube partner this year. So if you have not done so yet, we ask that you click that subscribe button. Also hit the bell icon, get you notified anytime that we put up new content here on the channel. And the third thing we'd like for you to do, if you like this podcast, you like our videos, give these things a thumbs up, smack that thumbs up button. It helps the YouTube algorithms to get our content pushed up in front of more viewers and more eyes. So guys, thank you so much for being with us. Check out that description on your way out. There's all kind of cool stuff down there for you guys. Places you can get free setups. We got an affiliate link to Major's Garage. We got a 10% off promo code for you guys. And we also have a link where you can get a diecast, a physical diecast model made of your iRacing car. And before we finish this thing out, Ricky, have you checked yet the number? Did you hit 1,000 yet?
Almost.
What are you at now? 990 what?
999.
999,
If you go on
guys. We need
Facebook
one
and hit
more
the
person
follow-
to go like Ricky's
Follow his
Doc NASCAR
car.
modeling Facebook
go on
page.
there.
Scotty,
got-
you hadn't done it yet?
I got somebody doing it right now.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
Scotty's got his wife probably doing it right now.
No, I've already done it with my Facebook. I'm having my stepson do it on his Facebook.
There you
Well,
go. So as
thank-
we close out the broadcast, Scotty's stepson is going to be Ricky's 1,000th follower there on Facebook. So
What does he
Doc
get? What is he?
NASCAR
What will he get
models
for that 1,000, Ricky? What will
on
he win?
Facebook.
when I post my next finish, I'm gonna thank the 1,000 followers. He's gonna get a special thank you.
yeah, the Scotty stepson. So hey, that's pretty cool. You got your 1,000th follower.
Yeah,
at
it's
the same time you
AJ.
were doing the broadcast.
His
with
name's
us, so
AJ.
AJ, I'll
AJ,
say
there
thank
you
you,
go.
AJ.
So
Hey,
glad-
it's a good racing name.
glad we could share that with you, share that experience with you.
Rick
Hit your
Utting,
1,000th
yes.
1,000th subscriber or follower there as we're
Hit
doing
follow,
the broadcast or the podcast tonight. So
subscribe,
that's
or-
cool. Congratulations, Ricky. Your models are awesome, man. I love them.
All right, you should have it. He just hit follow.
You need to make me an Alien Factory car.
Yeah,
I'll
there
sell
you
it. If I make it, I'll sell it to you.
Yeah, there you go. Guys, that wraps us up tonight for myself, Mr. Excitement, Mike Howerton. We got the #1 team driver, who's the man, the myth, the legend, Robert Cook, Tracy Rumschlag, the Admiral, and Scooter Scotty Stevens, along with our special guest tonight, Ricky Utting. For all of us here at Area 51, we appreciate you tuning in each and every week. And as always, we will see you
on the next one.
Next one.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.